So next shot is going to be the this shot with the with where the droplet hits the lime. Overall, pretty straightforward. Although we do have to create a new texture, which is the one on the inside here of the lime. So let's do that first before we do any of the other stuff. Before we do that, by the way, let's save your file out. First version it up or just whatever. Like I made a separate render scene. You can probably just version it up. But with that out of the way, let's find an image that we can use to create to create our texture. So you can go to flickr.com, flickr.com, and let's search for lime. And I like the let's look for photos, not for people. So the reason why I like this is because there's an option here for commercial use and mods allowed. So that means if we find something here, we can actually use it commercially and modify it. And this is a pretty good looking image of a lime. So I'm pretty sure that we can use this. Again, this has or it has some rights reserved. Some rights reserved. Some, all right. Oh wait, this is already copy restrict material format, adapt, remix, transform, build upon. Attribution, you must give appropriate credit. Well, here is the credit to this lady over here. Pona podcast on Flickr. So there you go. Share alike, build upon the material. No additional restrictions. All right, so I guess there you go. This is your credit. So now we can use your image. So like this is why I like Flickr for stuff like this. It's just easy to find images that you can also modify and use commercially. It's a little bit more difficult on Google because people here actually just put the rights they wanna give out for this stuff like this. All right, so let's save this out. Let's do the original, and let's do it in the. Let's go put it in my reference folder here. And let's call it lime. All right. So now we got a nice little image of our lime here, and we can use that to build a texture for our for this thing. So what we of course need to do is we need to have our lime slice here. Let's just hide our other stuff, and we need to write out a UV for our site. So let's go over here to the site. Let's delete let's delete inside not selected. So then we have our UV here. We can actually go to right click on this thing, go to save, and then texture UV to image. So we can save out the UV. So let's do 2048, something like that, and accept. Oh, we need to actually not hit accept. We need to actually say where we want to save it. So let's do $root / let's put in assets, textures, and let's make a thing here called lime top. All right, just call this lime UV, and then .png. All right, save it out. So you can open that in Photoshop, which I already did here. And let's first just fill the background with black so we can actually see what's going on here. So you can see we have our UV here. So now let's also open our lime image. I'm going to go open. I'm going to go to reference. I'm going to open up our lime image. And let's just paste it in here. And let's try to, what we kind of want to do is we want to sort of fit this. If you hold shift, you can stretch it out. We want to sort of start fitting this within our one of our things here, and then later we do the other one. So we probably want to put this in a bit like this. All right. All right. So let's delete. Let's erase a whole bunch of stuff from this that we don't need. Probably move it down a little bit further even, so we get this cutoff point there. All right, something like this. And again, like I know this, like there might be better ways to make textures like this. You could jump straight into Substance Painter and do it like this, but we're just going to be using Alchemist for all this stuff. It's also going to be a little bit more straightforward for the course, so you don't need a primer for Substance Designer or Painter or whatever. Alchemist is very straightforward, as you have already seen. Right, so let's just cut this out a little bit like that. All right, now let's select it, go to edit, let's go to transform, let's go to distort, or not distort, let's do, which one is it again? We want warp. All right, and with warp we can get these warp points and try to somewhat fit this within our UV. We're just somewhat trying to fit this in, make this look a little bit good. It doesn't have to be perfect. We can also still use some brushes here to improve this, but right, something like that. Use our stamp. Right, so stamp, and we can click Alt, and we can use the stamp here to sort of. So if you Alt, you can sample an area, and you can start painting it in. So this is also an area where you probably need to do that. So just make sure that your entire UV space there is just filled. All the stuff that goes out of it is not gonna be visible on the geometry anyway. So any of that stuff doesn't really matter. All right, so something along those lines. Let's just cut it off on the side. Just and again, like, take all the time you need for this. I'm just trying to be a little bit quicker here than I would normally be, because of course this course is already quite long, and we don't have all the time in the world. So just try to sort of roughly cut this all out, somewhat like that. All right. So then we have our sort of basic shape. Oh. Let's already save this out as a PSD in case something crashed. Let's just go in there, lime top, and then lime top V001. Right. Something we probably want to do is want to get rid of the specular parts. So we can use the stamp there again to just try to somewhat get rid of some of those specular highlights, because again, you're already going to get specular from your lights. You don't want that to be in the texture. Substance Alchemist is also going to remove the specular to some extent, but the more you can already do yourself and just try to come up with something that already looks decent, the better. And again, take all the time you need for something like this. I'm trying to be a little bit fast. So I might even fast forward this whole process, depending on how interesting my rambling here is going to be. I don't know yet. I just generally just ramble over everything that I do. All right. So especially the super bright areas, you wanna remove those. Those are going to be a little bit problematic. So, right, so here's a couple more, and then I think I'm gonna call it done in a little bit for this part. Don't want to spend too much time. Right, something along those lines looks pretty decent. Let's open up our UV thing again. Let's copy this layer and let's just move it over. All right, you can see there's still a bunch of stuff down there that we don't need. All right, so looks like we need to distort some stuff here. Maybe we want to go to filter, liquefy. And I don't think we can really check another layer here, which is a little bit annoying, but you can here push some stuff outwards. And again, like cannot completely see what I'm doing here because I cannot see the UV, but I know that I need some extra space here. So again, push this to the side. Okay, all right, something like that. Just try to sort of fill it in, and this is far from perfect, but you can take a bit more time for this yourself. More time than I am taking for this, at least. I'm just trying to get a decent result for the tutorial. All right, something along those lines. Yeah, so now we have we have our little thing here. Let's turn that off. All right, now we can go into Substance Alchemy or Sampler. It's called. All right, so we're here in Sampler. Let's do create new, and let's save as, and let's say that this is gonna be our lime texture. All right, here we go, and let's go in there, and let's drag our, where is it? Assets, textures, lime top, and let's drag our PSD in there. Image to material. Wait for this to do its magic. All right. Looks a little bit weird. Let's go to viewer settings. Let's see if we can try another. Is it right? All right. Let's change the base material. Let's just play with this image to material thing. I'm not particularly liking it yet, but maybe we can make this into something. The lighting intensity set to 1. We can also try with maybe B2M. So bitmap to material is what it was originally always doing. The AI powered one is new. All right, I'm actually liking this a lot better. Just playing with some sliders. I have no idea what I'm doing. So, let's just try this with a couple different light scenarios. Looks pretty decent. Shader settings. Right, seems to be that all right, let's reduce the large details. I don't think we need to do too much for this. It's a more of a background thing anyway. So I think something like this now is going to be fine. So let's just try it out. Let's press the share button, which I have no idea why in the world they're calling this share button, but I mean, what are you going to do? All right, let's go to Lime top, select folder, and Lime. And again, I want to use JPEG and EXR, but for some reason it cannot select both at the same time. So let's first do EXR. Right. So that's texture. Let's jump back into Houdini. So let's just go in there. Let's just have a look with the quick material to see if this holds up reasonably well. Lime base color. All right, so for some reason again it's not doing the colors in here, which again I have no idea why. Sometimes it just doesn't do that, but all right, now it does. Again, look, it's a little bit weird. Holding up reasonably well, except for the thing over there. But so we might actually need to, or is that a normal issue? All right, this was a normal issue. So holds up pretty good. I'd say let's just keep it like this. We can always change it, but we can already do quite a lot just in the materials. So yeah, let's do all of the other stuff inside of Solaris. All right, so let's go into here. Let's turn off here Karma, by the way, because it's just going to keep running in the background. Let's copy this entire node setup, even though we are probably going to throw away a lot, but it's going to be good to just have a base thing. Let's paste it in there. We don't need a lot of this stuff, so let's just get rid of all of the droplet stuff except for one, because we need one droplet. Let's get rid of the leaves. Don't really particularly need that stuff. All right, let's do scene import. Let's put our hero lime in there. There we have our hero lime. Again, we need scene import because this has object level transformations. Let's just, I guess, we could keep import materials on, but I probably just want to do it in here. So let's call this load hero lime or something. Hero lime. I guess we could call it hero lime here as well. All right, let's do material library. Let's grab the material from here. Small green lime, put it in there. And this is one of those scenarios where we can probably just say assign material, boom. And for some reason it disappears. Let's do autofill. And let's, oh wait. Okay, so it's still, okay, didn't copy the correct one. Still copied my drop. Sometimes it doesn't recognize the, so let's do it in clear, autofill. All right, there we go. So now we have the material signed here. So we go into Karma. And you could have also just import materials, but we're just doing most of this stuff now inside of Solaris. So it's going to make more sense to keep it like this. So we have our hero lime. We're going to call this water, I guess. Let's go to Vellum Sim. Let's just check in our second view if that's the correct one. Right, so that does seem to be the correct one. I guess we could do scene import for this thing. Let's grab the droplets material and we call this droplets material library. And again, in scenes like this, it might make sense to just merge it in here because it's part of this droplet. And you could also, for example, make this a subnetwork of just being your droplet with the material. So many options. All right. And in this case, I probably want to just assign this. And now it disappears because, of course, it's a It was a water material, so it doesn't really show in the viewport. Right, so we have our hero lime here. Right, so we also need our environment lime. Probably we can get rid of all the stuff that we did here. We can probably reapply that later. Yeah, let's do our environment limes. We can get rid of the ground. And let's do sub import for our environment limes. And go in there. And then let's maybe just do a null instead of an output. Environment limes. And load those in. And maybe let's have a look at our groups there. So, by the way, we probably need to unpack this. Alright, unpack. Down on delete here. Right, so inside is a good name. And then the other stuff is gonna be right, so we can get rid of those groups again. Let's do a group for the outside. That's gonna be the base group is gonna be alright, so unpack here. Base group is gonna be the object small green lime. Call it outside. And then let's delete some groups. So we don't need this inside 1 and inside 2. And let's just have a look. So if we delete the outside, that's the outside, right? And the inside is that one. All right, that looks pretty good. So let's call this environment limes. Go over here to the left, and let's start putting some materials in there. So material library. Let's do go in there, principal shader, base color a little bit off-white, and let's add some textures. Solar root / assets, textures, lime top, base color. Let's call this lime side, I think. All right, roughness. Paste everything in. Roughness, where are you? Right, roughness. Reflectivity. Let's do a specular. Bump and normal. Normal.dxr displacement. Height. Let's make it something like that. Right. And so we probably want to do the assignments down here. Let's do a material linker. And we really need to clean up our scene here because we don't really have that many. Let's, by the way, get rid of peppermint because we don't have any of that. Because like, we can clean up our scene if we want, but there's not really that much going on. So in this case, it doesn't necessarily make too much sense. Right, so lime inside will need to be assigned to environment lime. Oh, we need to enable groups on this thing. So import data, subset groups, outside lime, insides. And then we should have them here. Right, so insides can assign it on there. All right, that works. And then small green lime will have assignments for that thing. All right, there we go. Karma. All right. Let's turn on and see if it doesn't break, or because we might not even need it. Subdivision services. All right, seems to work. guess we don't need the material linker there and other stuff. This is reflecting a dark background because we don't have any light, so that seems correct. Then we go over here to our fetch thing, to our camera. So we're gonna look through our actual camera. All right, that's looking good. It's gonna merge the lights in. We probably want to do some new lights because don't necessarily need the lights that are there. Let's have a look here because we don't seem to have our environment limes rendering, or am I just blind? Oh, okay, we do have them. Let's do, oh yeah. So this is stuff like the HDRI here is a little bit, because it's similar colors to our scene, it was a little bit difficult to see, but you can see we do have our environment stuff. Let's go a couple frames back. Actually, the lighting already looks pretty decent in itself. I don't necessarily think we even need to do that much. We can maybe play a little bit with the material here. I guess, you know what, let's just enable, let's do a little bit of subsurface scattering. Let's also do the same on our hero lime. Let's do a little bit of subsurface scattering. We're gonna need to enable our AOVs in order to be able to see what we're actually doing there. So it might be good to view our karma node here. Let's hide this stuff. So now we can go through our AOVs. So, all right, so really see any subsurface scattering there. So yeah, right. So we were so not really getting any subsurface scattering. Maybe we just need a very tiny scatter distance. Okay, so it is doing something here. If we look at the beauty, right, so let's go in there. All right, so not sure why it's not showing up here in the AOVs. That's a little bit weird. But it is definitely working. Let's just do, let's make it a tiny bit greenish. All right, something like that. And let's go over here and do the same. We don't really see that much difference, so it doesn't really matter all that much. But I mean, it looks pretty decent. What we do need to do is we need to set up the focus stuff here, because this has depth of field on. We haven't really set the focus, so let's do this, the same thing that we did in our other shot, and go into our camera. Let's make a focus null. Call it focus. And then go into our other shot here. Let's copy our little scripts. Let's paste it in the camera. Here, view, sampling, focus distance. Right, there we go. Let's move our thing in position. So let's go. So we'll look over there. We need to move this up. Because in this shot, I'm actually going to render the depth of field. At least I got better results rendering it. So in this case, we do really need this. And the reason why we're gonna render it here is because we have, this shot is really all about sort of having this nice splash with the depth of field. And the problem is, if we're not gonna render the depth of field into the shot, you're gonna have very crisp refractions here of, for example, the lime that's here on in the back. And so you need to, so you, in that case, so if you just add the depth of field, you still have sort of very sharp, not out of focus refractions in there. Of course, you can make all that work in compositing, but that's just going to be, in this shot, a lot more work than it is going to take extra time to just render the depth of field. So that's the reason why we're going to render that in here. Okay, it's not necessarily, you don't necessarily have to do that in, but in this shot, it doesn't take too much time to render. So anyway, let's animate our focus null so that it's sort of following whatever it is that we want to follow. So see why we cannot see our drops here. All right, so that was because I was working in a backup file because I had to go back a couple of minutes for my different recording. Okay. So let's just hide this Venom Sim. Right, so let's animate this focus thing to sort of follow the drop that we have. Right, so move that up. There we go. Something like that. And then we want to stay focused on the line there. And then we animate it down. We want to walk through this to see if this sort of matches up. All right, seems reasonable enough. All right, let's go back to shot here. Let's go look through the camera. Karma. Right, so we're gonna have our depth of field, focus distance, and let's reduce our f-stop. All right, there we go. Let's go into the viewer. You can see this already looks really nice with the depth of field. And again, like if you were to do this in compositing, I mean, you could definitely do it, but the problem is that it would just be a lot more work. Yeah, this is already looking pretty good. So pretty much done. We just need to make sure that we have motion blur as well on everything. So there's no geometry settings here, so we don't have it as of right now. So let's go over here and let's just do geometry settings. And let's enable motion blur, velocity blur, karma. Let's have a look. Let's make sure that everything is imported. Again, I'm always messing up here with the so our ignore let's look at our fluid over here. Velocity, are you here? All right, so it does have velocity. Do we need to do another cache before it? Doesn't seem the case. So why is it not rendering? Probably star. Right, so it does seem to be thinking about things. So, all right, let's remove cache. Let's remove this. Let's do another geometry settings. Star. and enable fields. All right, so let's try it like that. All right, so as you can see, like I'm just a little bit confused as to why it just doesn't pick up on it by default. Because now this is working. It's a little bit over the top, so that's definitely not okay. So we probably need to go in here and reduce the velocity. Oh, that's because here we overwritten it times 100. So that was not correct. So if anybody of you know why this keeps sort of acting weird and not always just picking up on the correct primitive, let me know, because that's just weird and I just constantly have to try different things. So this is one of those things which could, I guess, be a little bit more user friendly, or just I have no idea what I'm doing. That could also be the case, but it seems a little bit at random when it's doing some of these things. All right, anyway, now we have motion blur here looking Gucci. All right, let's go through this thing. All right, I like it. Let's check it with the depth of field here. All right, I like it. Basically, it's going to be fine. Oh, by the way, we do need to enable velocity blur for our Karma Rob here. Oh yeah, that's something. Yeah, if you don't do that, it's not gonna render it into the final shot. So that's important to also just enable there. Anyway, let's put this to shot 30, and then it's render time. So again, you can just go to fetch, put it in like that, and then submit this to that line, HQ, or just render it over here. But looking pretty good in itself. So yeah, let's head on. Well, by the way, we should actually, I'm almost like we should theoretically change the lights, but I already like the lights as they are here, even though they're completely from the previous scene. So I'm just gonna leave it like this. Like, you can play around with it, but I already think this looks pretty nice. So yeah, that's why I'm not really touching that. But yeah, you could move this around. But I mean, it looks pretty nice. And if it looks nice, and this is without those lights. So if it looks nice, like, why change it, right? Why change the winning formula? So yeah, just render this out, and let's head over to the next shot.